Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and you're watching This Week in MTG Finance. As always, before we get started, I want to thank MTG Stocks for allowing us to use graphical information for the purposes of this video. Alright, we're going to kick things off with the top 5 winners this week, and we're going to start right here with the number 5 card, Castle Arden from Throne of Eldraine, currently sitting around $3.25. This card's up a healthy 67% this week. I mentioned this card back in November as one you should be considering picking up at around $1, and my position on that still hasn't changed even at these prices. Look folks, these castles, especially Castle Ardenvale, Castle Vantress, Castle Lochtwain, the three big ones, these are going to be format staples, period. I mean, just look at this list, right? I mean, look at all of the decks these are appearing in. It makes sense to include this card, obviously, in decks like, control decks, sort of blue-white control, Esper control builds, things along that line. And then, of course, it slots really well into sort of white weenie decks. And it's nice to see these numbers for Pioneer. I mean, it's not just standard decks, right? Cards even showing up in Legacy. So definitely one that I think is going to continue to climb, especially now that, we're hardcore into THEROS. Throne of Eldraine is basically sort of stopped getting open at this point. So this graph's just going to continue to climb. And this type of card is going to be sort of a format staple forever. I will say, though, that, I think the castles, especially considering how much use they're getting, that Wizards would definitely look at a reprint in some sort of product down the road for sure. All right, up next and in the number 4 slot, we have Piracy from Starter 99. Card's currently valued around $37, and it's up 133% this week. Of note, the Portal Second Age version is still only around $16.50, so if this is a card that's been on your hit list to grab, you may want to consider grabbing the Portal Second Age version. Well, you can still get it for less than 50% of the Starter 99 version. This is one of those cards that kind of crops up as a buyout every once in a while. I mean, the cards had all-time highs in the $65 range. So I think that's basically just what's going on here. I wasn't able to find any new tech on this. And definitely, if there was some sort of new deck that was really taking advantage of Piracy, we would see an increase in price in all versions. So like I said, I think this is just sort of a buyout situation. All right, up next and in the number 3 slot, we have Abbot of Keep from Magic Origins. Card's currently priced at $2.50, and it's up 163% this week. To be honest with you, I'm surprised this card's kind of lagged behind for as long as it has. I mean, with the advent of Pioneer and, sort of red deck coming out of the gates running, I really thought that this card would have taken off sort of a lot sooner than it has. But that said, I mean, red deck competes in any format, right? And red deck is putting up good, strong numbers in Pioneer right now. And Abbot of Keep slots really well into any sort of prowess red deck strategy. I mean, one of the problems red deck always has is sort of running out of gas. And Abbot of Keep helps you keep your foot on the gas pedal because when it enters the battlefield, you exile the top card of your library. And until the end of your turn, you can play that card. So basically just sort of giving us an extra card advantage. But yeah, like I said, slots really well into any sort of Pioneer red deck prowess strategy for sure. And our number 2 winner this week is Gideon of the Trials from Amonkhet, currently priced at $11.75. And this card is up 193% this week. So the reason for this is definitely Pioneer demand. White Weenie's putting up good numbers. Look, Pioneer is still in a state of flux, right? So everybody's trying to find sort of what are the good decks, and every new set that gets added to Pioneer is going to make massive changes just because the card pool is so small in relative comparison to things like Modern and obviously, Legacy and stuff like that. So like I said, every new set's going to add a bunch of new cards that are potentially viable in the format, and everybody's going to try out new decks. And THEROS for sure added a bunch of really awesome white cards. So it's no wonder that a card like this is seeing big demand right now in a Pioneer. And our number 1 winner this week is Plague of Vermin from Shadowmoor. This card's at $7, which is up an astounding 410% since last week. That's right, it went basically from junk status to like a $7, $8 card in just a few days. The reason for this is there's been a massive resurgence in interest in rats ever since that secret layer drop. And this is probably just some sort of speculative play, some sort of speculative buyout. The reality is, I mean, you can do a few different weird combos with this in Commander. Like there's a combo with AR of First of Lochthwain. Plague of Rats is starting with you. Each player may pay an amount of life. Repeat this process until no one pays life, and then each player puts a 1/1 black rat creature token into play for each 1 life he or she paid this way. So there's definitely a combo you can do with sort of AR of First of Lochthwain, because anytime a black creature enters the battlefield under your control, your opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So there's definitely things you could do here for sure with Plague of Vermin. Is this sustainable? I honestly do not believe so. I think, this is just some sort of weird spike. I believe if you own these cards, you should strongly consider digging them out of your collection and moving them for whatever you can get them for. Worst case scenario, I mean, even if you sell them for, $5, $6, $7, you've made like 500% over what they were worth just a few weeks ago. All right, I wanted to give an honorable mention this week to Aero Titan of Nature's Wrath from Theros Beyond Death. This card's up another 36% this week, and there is no question that this is the chase mythic in Theros Beyond Death for sure. This thing's a diesel train that's just not stopping. I mean, look at the numbers this is putting up. It's getting played in every format. Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, Standard. I mean, these are just huge, huge numbers. And we have an issue with, the EV on a box of Theros Beyond Death being so low that we're in a situation where it's not profitable to open boxes. This is really sort of the big hit kind of out of the set, right? So that said, the mass box openers have kind of stopped or slowed down for sure on opening boxes. So there's just not going to be enough supply of this. I'm not saying invest at these prices, but I think this card's probably sort of $50 anyway, for sure, while it's in Standard, because there's just not enough supply and the demand is so massive on this card. And I really don't know where the ceiling is. I'd be scared to invest in this card. I have to be honest, but I think the ceiling's much higher than where we currently are at today. All right, and before we get into cards I'm investing in this week, as always, if you're a subscriber, I want to thank you for being here. We really appreciate your support, and if not, now's a great time to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We post at least 2 videos every week. All right, I want to start right here with Crocs, a Titan of Death's Hunger from the latest set, Theros Beyond Death, currently valued around $9. And I have to say, this is not so much an invest, more of like a watch for me. I'm slowly and sort of quietly building up a position in this card. I think it's amazing. I think it's been overshadowed by its big brother Uro. There's no question about that. Take Uro out of the Theros set, and this card would be looked at a lot more seriously. I do honestly believe that. It's just really good value for 1 red and 1 black, especially in something like Commander, but there's no reason why this couldn't easily be played in something like Pioneer or Standard for sure. But Croxa, 1 red and 1 black. Of course, when it enters the battlefield, if it didn't escape, we have to sacrifice it. But when it enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card, and then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life. So in other words, if you pitch a land, you also take a bolt to your face. And its escape cost is not exorbitant. 2 red and 2 black, and exile 5 other cards. We get our 6/6 guy. And that's not a problem for decks that would be running this card to do in those colors, certainly. So I think this is one card that down the road is definitely going to get a lot more attention. And like I said, I'm quietly sort of building up a position, and I'm happy to do that at the $9 mark. Alrighty, and up next we have Torbrand, Thane of Redfell from Throne of Eldraine, currently sitting around $3.30. I love the graph on this card. This is just a good, solid, healthy demand type graph. We bottomed out around $2 and have been slowly and steadily climbing from there to where we are today. Card sees play in Pioneer and Standard, of course in Commander as well. It's just the kind of card that red deck is going to always want, and as long as it's legal in the format, it's always going to look to have a card like this in its deck. So $3.30 coming up off the bottom. I think this is an excellent investment for the future and going forward. Okay, and up next we have Elspeth Conquers Death from Theros Beyond Death. Card's currently sitting around $1.10. That's right, it's no longer in the junk rare category. So I think this card has a lot of potential going forward, especially with the next set coming out, Ikoria. I mean, the name of the set is Ikoria Layer of Behemoths, right? So it just feels like a card like this is going to play well against a lot of stuff we're probably going to be seeing in that set. So for 2 white and 3, it's a saga. Step 1, we exile target permanent and opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or greater. And that's again where I think it's going to see a lot of play against big stuff that we'll probably be seeing in Ikoria. Step 2, non-creature spells your opponent's cast costs 2 more to cast until your next turn. So this type of effect is really solid in something like Commander. Step 1 is really good in Commander too, right? I mean, get rid of those Avacons and stuff like that. And then step 3, we return a creature or planeswalker from our graveyard to the battlefield and put a +1/+1 counter or a loyalty counter on it. So just a good solid card. It's already seeing play in Pioneer, some white weenie decks, a lot of standard decks, newer sort of Esper and Azorius control type builds, as well as this is also getting play in Esper Dance and stuff like that. So just a really good solid card. I mean, we're up off of the bottom. Graphs continuing to sort of look upward, and like I said, with a lot of potential in stuff from the next set. I think this card has got a lot of upside potential from here. Okay, and the next one I wanted to bring to your attention today was Fulminate Mage, specifically the one from Ultimate Masters. We're currently sitting around the $6 mark. I mean, this card is a staple, right? It's a staple, a modern staple. It's always going to be a modern staple. I mean, look at all these decks that run it, right? But the reason why this one's really on my radar is because of the massive gap between, the printings here. So we have a Fulminate Mage from Ultimate Masters sitting around $6. I mean, the original printing is double that at around 12, and even the Modern Masters 2015 printing is, around the $7.25 mark. So a bit of a disparity there as well. Cards starting to come up off the bottom. I mean, Modern's starting to turn the corner, so now's a great time to get in on some of these format staples, especially the undervalued ones, with the multiple printings like this Ultimate Masters version of Fulminate Mage. All right, and last but not least, we have our speculation play for the week. That's right, it's Kari Zev, a Skyship Raider from Aether Revolt. So Kari Zev is 1 red and 1 for a legendary human pirate. She's a 1/3 with First Strike and Menace. And whenever she attacks, she creates a 2/1 red monkey creature that's also tapped and attacking, and you exile that monkey at the end of combat. It's appearing in a ton of Pioneer decks that are putting up a lot of good numbers. And she's like a 2/3. I've even seen some lists running 4 of her. So only one printing. That's only ever really been in Aether Revolt. And with this many decks putting up this kind of numbers, it's only a question of time until the supply on Kari Zev runs out. So that is my speculation play for the week. All right, I want to take a moment to thank you guys for all the awesome comments you guys left in the comments section last week, as well as let you know that an overwhelming 92% of you guys said that you want to see more content packed into the show. That's something I'll be working towards over the course of the next couple of weeks. All right, thanks for watching this week in MTG Finance. Bye for now.